Chet Holmgren.
Yep. Is this because of me or is this both of us?
This is because of you. You had the next guy a little bit. We had them tied. Like we flipped 5 and 4 for these two.
Okay. So that's why I was surprised because I assumed we had them flipped and I didn't know how you'd break the tie. The DPOY broke the tie.
I mean, no, I broke the tie. The way we broken the tie, like throughout, it's just
experience.
Look, Evan Mobley is 4. And to me, it's, Evan Mobley's just done it a little bit longer than Chet has at this point. But sure. Chet Holmgren is at number 5. I think there's a real case for Chet anywhere from 2 to 5, realistically. I'll hear out anywhere from 2 to 5 with Chet. It's hard for me to get him past 5, honestly. Yeah. I like a lot of what he does in terms of like versatility a little bit more than some of these other guys, but Chet's anticipation is just totally different. He's 7 foot with a 7'6" wingspan, maybe 7'1", whatever he's listed at, but it's the anticipation. It's the way that he thinks the game. Like, yes, you can do anything with him. You can, as a big at the 5, you can play him and drop. You can play him as a 4-man where he guards on the perimeter. Like you can play him in a catch drop, like at the level, right? You can play him and switch him just like straight up because he can guard 4s. You can play him as like your weak side havoc inducing help defender, like they did this year with Hartenstein in minutes. You can play him as your primary defensive 5, like they did against the Indiana Pacers in the playoffs, right? He just does everything is the reality. I think he's a little bit better of a defensive rebounder than what Jaren Jackson is a guy that like theoretically can switch between the 4 and the 5 and kind of move along and be versatile positionally. To me, I think he's going to win a defensive player of the year someday. I pretty strongly believe that unless Victor just stays healthy every single year of his career and he just owns them for the next like 7 years or whatever. But like, I don't know if that's going to be the case. It's the way he anticipates actions. He has to watch just like an insane amount of tape because he knows exactly what it feels like ball handlers are trying to do all the time. He knows how they're trying to attack him. His hips for being 7'1", like I see people say all the time, he has to get stronger. He has to get stronger. He has to put on weight. I agree with the fact that he has to get stronger, but what makes Chet Holmgren so special to me on defense is the hip flexibility and like the ability to drop his hips and flip his hips all the time and just stay in front of guys or play in recovery and turn and run and be able to like just be an elite presence, coming from behind as a shot blocker. Like he is a monster everywhere. The way that he'll see things develop on the weak side, like he'll be at the opposite elbow and like make these crazy like scramble rotations down from the opposite elbow and like just go and get a shot at the rim. I just think Chet is so special on defense in terms of the way that he sees things coming and thinks the game. Truly one of my favorite defenders to watch in the NBA. And it perfectly fits within what Oklahoma City is trying to do defensively.
People are right. He does need to get stronger and some weight and all of that. But I've said it since his quote unquote rookie year. He holds up better than I could have imagined for his size. Like he will take contact in the chest, right? And it doesn't look like he should be able to take contact and then hold his ground. But he doesn't just get these weak side rotation blocks, and he does do plenty of those. But he'll rim protect where he's squared up with the offensive player, take contact in the chest. And then I just think he has really good timing, right? And this is what
unbelievable timing.
Yeah, the length is real, right? And you have to have that type of length to be a top 5 defender in the NBA. But you don't just because you have it. Well, you don't have to have that type of length. One player's not. But it's not just that. You have to combine it with other things. And I think the timing is a huge part of that. I also want to give him love for his defensive rebounding. If you look like per 100, just on the defensive end, he increased it by 1 per game, and that stayed into the playoffs. And what did we talk about for the Oklahoma City Thunder potentially being an Achilles heel was the defensive rebounding. Hartenstein was a huge part of that, but I think Chet came back and, showed real growth on that end. after being injured. And I will say, I think part of why I think people can probably figure it out that Evan Mobley is going to be next, that part of why I had Mobley above Chet was DPOY, and that Chet had missed a full year and only played 32 games last season, but he showed his defensive impact in all, 114 regular season games. And then we talked about it throughout the playoffs, Sam, that even when the offense wasn't as good as what people wanted, the defensive impact and imprint was always there.
To your point on the rim protection, and this is something that all of the Gonzaga bigs do. They just get taught this incredibly well. Chet had this a little bit before he got to Gonzaga too, so I don't really want to just give the Gonzaga coaching staff the credit, but they do deserve a lot of credit for this. They're unbelievable teaching verticality.
Yes.
They do an amazing job at it. All of their bigs do it. They are great at teaching the ability to just stay as big as humanly possible with your arms as high as possible while also retreating and being able to avoid foul calls. Chet this year only averaged 2.3 fouls per game, which is like a crazy, crazy low number for how often he contested the basket. I mean, the guy is just a crazy smart defender to me. And he, to your point about embracing contact, that was like a huge thing that people questioned with him coming into the NBA. And I just did not really, frankly, have those questions because the guy is just tough as shit, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's the reality. Chet Holmgren this year played those 32 games or whatever he played, right?
Yeah.
32. Yep. Contested 6 shots per game. Do you know what opponents shot against him at the rim, according to the NBA site?
At the rim, 51%.
They shot 44% against him at the rim,
wow,
which is bonkers. It is a completely insane number. And yes, like, I think we did probably dock him slightly for the games played, right? I ultimately probably would have had him at 3 if not for the games played. I think that's the reality. I think Chet is an unbelievable, intelligent rim protector who also can do more. You can play him in whatever coverage you want. You can play him at the 4. You can play him at the 5. And he's just a totally dominant defensive presence out there. And to me, like, people will say like Lou Dort is the best defender on the Thunder, and Hartenstein was great this year. And obviously we have 5 Thunder guys. This is the final Thunder guy on our list. Finally, we had Caruso at number 9, right? I just think Caruso is a monster, but Chet is very clearly their best defender.
Yeah.
Like, the way that he impacts the game with his length, the versatility, the rim protection without blocking shots. Seriously, again, if you want to have him at 2, I'll hear out a case for 2. I couldn't quite get him to 2. I had like a pretty locked in answer at number 2 personally, but on a per minute basis, I think I would have him at number 3 right now. I just kind of docked him a couple spots for number 5.
Yeah.
Because of the games.
I realized why I was high. So I knew Stewart was like I was thinking 48, but was at 46% defending at the rim. So I was like, okay, well, if Stu's 48, I thought led the NBA, then Chet's probably like at 50, 51, right? Well, no, it's because Chet is the only player higher than Isaiah Stewart in terms of field goal percentage allowed at the rim. Again, it's funny because just the completely different body types, even between those two guys, right? But I think what I love about Chet is, again, whenever we get to Wemby, I'm going to talk about how he can get away with some stuff. Chet, like, I feel like even in ball screen coverages, I always watch for this because, again, sorry to non-Pistons fans, Jalen Duren's really bad about his body positioning and ball screen defense. So I'm always looking for examples of the elite bigs doing it the quote unquote right way. And so, Chet is one of those. He stays square. He opens his hips the right way to get to recoveries and all of that. Like, he's just like, he has this length. He has this competitiveness, another common theme as we've gone through these, Sam, but he also just like gets position correct. He's in the right spots. You brought it up. We've mentioned it multiple times. He's just really, really impressive. I'm with you. I think if we do this 12 months from now and he's healthy enough to play 70 games and all of that, he's obviously going to make all defense, and he could very well be number 2 behind only the guy we have at number 1.
Yeah. I think that's absolutely true. I mean, Chet is a joke. Like, the guy's a total joke to me on the defensive end. And I think I could honestly like spend the next 30 minutes talking about him on defense, just in terms of the way he thinks the game, in terms of the way that he'll rotate across the weak side. Yeah, I mean, just a total monster to me. Like, the positionally versatile ability to play both the 4 and the 5, and to do so highly effectively, which the next guy does as well. I think Chet's probably a little bit better than Mobley at the 5 personally, but I think Mobley's probably a little bit better as that, kind of weak side rotational help defender than Chet is. And we'll talk about the differences between the two, but man, I just can't speak highly enough of what Chet Holmgren did this year when he was on the court. Let's go to number 4 though, and go to Evan Mobley. So Evan Mobley is your reigning defensive player of the year. We have him at number 4. I think Evan, I would not have voted Evan for defensive player of the year. I was pretty clear on that. I would have voted the guy who's coming next, but I think Evan is a worthy defensive player of the year for sure. Has been 2 times first team all defense, would have been first team all defense in all likelihood in 2024 had he not gotten injured. What makes Mobley to me so special is just the fluidity with which he moves. He moves unlike any other 7-footer, realistically. The ability to flip his hips, to slide his feet laterally. People will say that like bigs move like wings all the time, just in terms of their coordination and everything like that. Like, people will bring up, oh yeah, like AD when he was younger, like he moved like a wing, right? Bam Adebayo, like he slides his feet like a wing. Bam still like gets like a little bit top heavy. He's just so strong and physical and like is so good laterally. But like he moves like a guy that's 6'9" to 6'10" to me, right? Evan Mobley is so fluid that I do think he moves like a wing.
Sure.
The footwork, the dexterity, the way he uses his length, he has like somewhere between a 7'4" and 7'5" wingspan. He's gotten smarter defensively. Like, I would say that he is a guy that like kind of gets pigeonholed into being like the toolsy defender a lot of the time, but his ability to like read and react on the weak side now is like genuinely crazy. I think he is so good on that end. He is maybe not the best guy in the league, but certainly in the top 3. And I'll hear out a case for him at number 1 at playing in like the 1-on-2 on the weak side. Yeah. Whenever a team puts Jared Allen in a ball screen and he's forced to play in that 1-on-2 situation, he the way he covers that ground is just completely remarkable. Used to be Giannis that I think was like the best at that in the league. I would say now I think there's a real case it's Mobley now. Honestly, I think it probably is him. The ability to just completely blow up plays after his teammates get beaten. This is not an amazing defensive backcourt, right? I thought Donovan Mitchell had a really good year defensively, but still probably about average on defense, maybe slightly above average. Darius Garland is not a plus on defense. I think it's fair to say. DeAndre Hunter to me is like good on the ball, but doesn't always, make the right rotations, read and react wise on the backside. Karis LeVert, I would not say is like a particularly positive defender who played 38 games there this year. Obviously Hunter only played like the back half as well. So you get like a full season between those two. George Niang is pretty slow. Ty Jerome is pretty slow. I actually think Sam Merrill is a pretty good defender, but there's a lot of guys that aren't particularly fast on that end. And he just covers up all of the warts and covers up all of the flaws when they get beaten because of his ability to rotate and scramble and just make the right read when mapping the court.
I mean, I think something we talk about all the time especially when we're going through the pre-draft and NBA draft stuff is we talk about ground coverage defensively, even when we're just talking the NBA in general and how you have to be able to cover ground, and Mobley absolutely does that, and that's a huge part of what you're talking about, being able to be this successful on the weak side. And so that's one thing that stands out to me. I think the off-ball defense, and again, that's what's kind of fun now. I feel like for a while, I don't know, maybe not, but it seemed like Jaren kind of had the mantle of as the best like off the ball roamer, rim protector type player. And, Chet can do that. I think Evan Mobley is really good at that. And I think it's a real fun conversation. Listen, I made this argument during the year. Everybody, clipped the Harden where he kind of got him off balance and all of that. But, and I do think like the switchability, the point attack defense can be hit and miss with different matchups. But I do think he offers enough of that. As well. Like, I've watched enough. I went back and read through the notes. I went back and watched the film that he does have that ability to do a little bit of both. And we talk all the time about like Dyson Daniels leading to transition. We talked about this with Asar leading to transition. Like these guys are doing the same things, like again, you go back and you watch and it's, recovery block and that leads to transition 3. Another rotation block leads to clear path foul. Like just all of this stuff. I think he had in the playoffs, I think he like somehow blocked a Halliburton floater. I don't know how you block a floater from Halliburton. That just, I'm not sure if I trust my notes on this one, Sam. I was like, did I write that? But it leads directly to a Strus 3. It's like those impactful defensive plays are also leading to offense in the same way as steal does or a deflection, something like that.
Yeah, look, like you're still talking 2.5 stocks per game, right? Like he's still out there making a crazy number of plays. But I think he is so good positionally now at knowing exactly where to like put his body. And he's been this way since his second season in the NBA. Like this isn't new. But I think he is so good at being able to dissuade drives and dissuade passes just through his presence now. Like I think teams are worried about, okay, if I throw this pass where he's in the 1-on-2, I can't really manipulate him. Like guards can't really manipulate him anymore because of how smart he is and because of how long he is. He'll be beaten occasionally, right? But like it's harder to do than it used to be when he was even younger, right? I think his willingness and his length to be able to cover ground on closeouts, like you will see him tag in a little bit more aggressively and just take up space in the lane. And it kind of just dissuades drivers at the end of the day, knowing that he's there and that like he has the reactivity where if you try to throw a kick out, he might just jump up and get it. Or he has the ability to close out and get all the way from like being one step in the lane to getting all the way out to a corner shooter at the end of the day. Like, the mobility is just such a real factor for him, man. Like the fact that he is this mobile at 7 foot tall with this kind of length, it's just kind of mind boggling to me. Like he is another one of those guys who just feels like he teleports places on the court and you don't know how he got there. You see him take these incredibly long strides, but then he doesn't really even jump and like get off balance in the way that you see a lot of bigs do. He's just an immensely talented player on the defensive end.
And I think another player where the defensive rebounding has improved throughout his career, again, especially if you like look at per 100, it doesn't look as impressive if you just like look per game. But that's because he's actually playing less, a few less minutes per game in years 3 and 4 of his career and averaging more defensive rebounds per game. So that's become more impactful. And I will also say, I do think he's getting like his play strength is getting stronger. I think you notice it more on the offensive end. I had a lot of notes about that where like offensively, he's playing through contact on drives and stuff like that. But those things play to his defensive impact as well. Holding his line against a drive, holding up when he's squared against a bigger player in the paint. And so that play strength, and I'm sure he's gotten stronger and weighs more in general, but the practical aspect of that, I think, is showing out in his game as well.
Yeah, totally fair. Winner for Defensive Player of the Year last year. I certainly had him first team all defense. I have no beef whatsoever with him winning that award. I would have gone a different direction, but he's a completely worthy winner and the guy we have at number 4 this year. And yeah, just a total stud. I have no negative things really to say about him on that end.